India Today has accessed CCTV images from Mansa in Punjab. Watch these images. These are images from just moments before that cold-blooded murder of singer Sidhu Moosewala. Now this new video, and watch these images very, very carefully. We'll play them out for you so that you can analyze these yourselves. They show a white Bolero. It's just meters ahead of Moosewala's black Jeep. Seconds later, the singer's Jeep is seen, and behind Moosewala's vehicle is a white Toyota Corolla. On this route, an earlier video, and remember, India Today has been able to access even that video, Moosewala's vehicle, it turns left. So while the white Bolero was already waiting for the singer, this is where this vehicle was waiting for the singer, and according to the police, this is where 24 bullets were pumped into him by gangsters. Two of Moosewala's friends in the car with him were also targeted. One succumbed, the other is currently in hospital. Earlier today, the Punjab police made their first arrest in this murder investigation. The Punjab police have formally arrested Manpreet Singh. Remember, Manpreet Singh was picked up from Uttarakhand late yesterday evening, detained along with 5 others. Now, Singh, according to the Punjab police, is a known drug dealer. He was produced before court and now has been remanded to 5 days in custody. And look at this entire sequence. We are just playing out that video for you full screen. Gangster number 2. Now the Corolla car. Watch this sequence. This Bolero is the vehicle suspected in which the gangsters, the armed gangsters were. This is vehicle number 1. Watch this very carefully. Very clear images on another CCTV camera. India Today has got a close-up. Remember, we showed you long shots. This is Sidhu Moosewala's vehicle. This was the vehicle that he was traveling in, not knowing at that point of time these were his last moments. He was in this black Mahindra Thar. Moosewala's black Thar, and just watch a little ahead, and this is that white Toyota Corolla. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Tanseem Haider for more on this. Tanseem, you've been speaking to your sources in the Punjab police constantly for the benefit of our viewers. This video, the earlier sequence, eyewitness account, and one of the suspects now in custody. अब क्या तस्वीर निकल कर आ रही है, उस दिन क्या हुआ, इस हत्या की वजह के बारे में, बंदूकों के बारे में, कारणों के बारे में और उस पूरी सीक्वेंस के बारे में हमारे दर्शकों को बताइए।
गौरव, इसमें बहुत जरूरी इंफॉर्मेशन मिली है पुलिस को। पुलिस ने एक को तो गिरफ्तार किया है, देहरादून से 2 लोगों को प्रोडक्शन रिमांड में जेल से लेके आए हैं, और जो जिनसे पूछताछ की जा रही है, जो 5 दिन की पुलिस कस्टडी में है पुलिस के पास। तो इस पूरे मामले में अभी पुलिस उन तक पहुंच गई है जिन्होंने लॉजिस्टिक मुहैया कराए। अभी पुलिस को पहुंचना उनके पास बाकी है जिन्होंने हथियार मुहैया कराए, और उन शूटर के पास पहुंचना जरूरी है जो 6 से 7 की तादाद में बताए जा रहे हैं। इन्वेस्टिगेशन का एक और पहलू सामने आया है। मैं आपको बता दूं कि इसमें कई ऐसे गैंगस्टर के नाम सामने आए हैं जो अपनी म्यूजिक कंपनी चलाते थे। उनकी बाकायदा म्यूजिक कंपनियों के नाम सामने आए हैं, प्रोडक्शन हाउसेस के नाम सामने आए हैं, जो सिंगर से अपने लिए गाने गवाते थे अपनी म्यूजिक कंपनी के लिए। तो उसकी भी एक वर्चस्व की लड़ाई सामने आ रही है निकल के, और इसमें 2 गैंगस्टर आमने सामने हैं। एक तो बिहार से जुड़ा हुआ लकी पटियाल, जो कि आर्मेनिया में रहकर अपना गैंग चला रहा है। दूसरा जो गैंग है लॉरेंस बिश्नोई का, जो तिहाड़ से अपना गैंग चला रहा है। गोल्डी बराड़ कनाडा में है, यानी कनाडा में गोल्डी, आर्मेनिया में लकी पटियाल। ये दोनों गैंग है जो पंजाब की जो म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री है उसके वर्चस्व की लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं। और इसी में जो कई सिंगर्स पे हमला हुआ है, कई सिंगर्स इसमें मारे गए हैं, कई गैंगस्टर मारे गए हैं इसमें, और गैंग वॉर हुई है। तो अब ऐसा बताया जा रहा है जो गैंगस्टर और गैंग वॉर या गैंग से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं, जो इसको अब जिन्होंने नजदीक से देखा है, तो आशंका अब ऐसी भी जताई जा रही है कि ये गैंग वॉर यहाँ रुकने वाली नहीं है, क्योंकि नीरज बवानिया गैंग, जो कि लकी पटियाल से जुड़ा हुआ है, उसने भी सोशल मीडिया पे धमकी दी कि अब हम इसका बदला लेंगे। तो जाहिर है, और ऐसी ही धमकी जब विक्की मुद्दूवाला का मर्डर हुआ था, उसके बाद उसके बाद लॉरेंस बिश्नोई ने धमकी दी थी और लॉरेंस बिश्नोई ने उसमें कत्ल करवा दिया
जितने
सिद्धू का।
पंजाब के
तो
बड़े
दोनों
बड़े
गैंग
गैंग्स
आमने
के बारे
सामने हैं।
में अब निकल कर आ रहा है, जो खबरें निकल कर आ रही हैं, लॉरेंस बिश्नोई का जो नाम सामने आ रहा है, तिहाड़ जेल में पूछताछ की बात चल रही है, ये सारी कड़ियां जुड़कर अभी क्या वो बड़ी तस्वीर बन पा रही है? पहली बात। दूसरी बात, इतने आधुनिक ऑटोमेटिक हथियार कैसे पहुंचे इन गैंगस्टर्स के पास? ये हथियार किस रास्ते से आए?
जी गौरव, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सवाल है। देख, आज आपने देखा होगा हाल के दिनों में ड्रोन के जरिए एक्सप्लोजिव्स आए, ड्रोन के जरिए कई वेपन्स आए। तो ऐसा ही माना जा रहा है कि जिन हथियारों की बात कह रही है, तो देखिए AK-47 यूज हुई, AN-94 यूज हुई, 9mm यूज हुई, इसमें उसके अलावा .45 यूज हुई। तो ये गन्स जितने भी हैं, ये इतनी आसानी से मार्केट में मुहैया नहीं है, इतनी आसानी से गैंगस्टर्स के, बड़े गैंगस्टर के पास भी नहीं है। और ऐसा भी नहीं है कि ये मुंगेर में या कहीं से बना रहे हैं, ये आती बाहर से ही है। और ये गन क्रॉस बॉर्डर से किसी न किसी तरीके से यहाँ पहुंचाई गई है गैंगस्टर के पास, उसके बाद इसका इस्तेमाल किया गया है। तो जाहिर है जो जांच का दायरा है गौरव, वो बहुत दूर तक है, विदेशों पे फैला हुआ है। तो पुलिस ने अभी उसके एक सर्कल को तोड़ा है। पहला सर्कल ये थी कि गाड़ी किसने मुहैया कराई। अब पुलिस दूसरे पे काम कर रही है कि आखिर ये हथियार कहाँ से आए, और उन लोगों से पूछताछ कर रही है कस्टडी में लेके, जो 2 प्रोडक्शन रिमांड पे लाए गए हैं और एक एक्यूज देहरादून से जो पकड़ा गया है। अब नेक्स्ट यही है कि हथियार किसने दिए, उसकी गिरफ्तारी, उसके बाद उन शूटर्स की गिरफ्तारी जो 6 से 7 बताए जा रहे थे, उनको अभी जीरो इन करना बाकी है। और पुलिस कह रही है हम जल्दी इस केस को वर्कआउट करेंगे और उन लोगों को गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे।
अच्छा, एक खालिस्तानी संगठन जो विदेशों में बैठे हैं, वो इसको भुनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। वो ये प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि ये जो गैंग वॉर एक तरह से पंजाब में चल रही है, उसको परिवर्तित करे और आतंक फैलाए। उसको रोकने के लिए दूसरा, पाकिस्तान से आ रहे ड्रग्स और उनकी भूमिका, उस पर अंकुश लगाने के लिए पुलिस क्या कर रही है तंसीम?
जी देखिए, जाहिर है क्योंकि पंजाब में नई सरकार है, उसके लिए बड़े चैलेंजेस हैं। अभी हमने देखा कल पंजाब में एक नए ADG लॉ एंड ऑर्डर तैनात किए गए हैं, क्योंकि पिछले कई दिनों से विजिलेंस के ADG के पास ये चार्ज हुआ करता था। तो अभी सरकार उस मोड में धीरे धीरे आ रही है कि आखिर कैसे चीजों को किया जाए। कभी पुलिस इंटेलिजेंस हेडक्वार्टर पे हमला हो जाता है, कहीं बुड़ैल जेल के बाहर RDX बरामद हो जाता है, कहीं ड्रोन के जरिए RDX क्रॉस बॉर्डर से लाके फेंक दिया जाता है। तो चीजें बहुत बहुत संजीदगी से देखने की जरूरत है, जिस तरह से इस तरह से हथियार आ रहे हैं। दूसरा जो इम्पोर्टेंट पहलू ये है कि गैंगस्टर आखिर पंजाब में ही क्यों एक्टिव है। गौरव, इस बात को समझना होगा कि एक दौर था, आपने भी उसको बहुत कवर किया है हमारे साथ, हम लोगों के साथ, जिसमें हमने देखा कि अंडरवर्ल्ड किस तरह से बॉलीवुड को अपने कब्जे, अपने शिकंजे में रखता था, कैसे उसमें एक्सटॉर्शन होता था, कैसे कौन फिल्म कौन करेगा, किस फिल्म में कौन हीरो हीरोइन होंगे, ये अंडरवर्ल्ड तय करता था। और वहाँ की म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री पे अंडरवर्ल्ड का दखल था। और अंडरवर्ल्ड की बात नहीं मानते थे तो उसमें मर्डर भी हुए। गुलशन कुमार का मर्डर उसकी एक बानगी है। तो ऐसे ही पंजाब में म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री का जो वर्चस्व है, उसको हासिल करने की एक बड़ी जंग चल रही है। और ये बहुत खतरनाक है।
Extremely critical. Tanseem Haider getting you those exclusive details, the role of drugs, weapons, underworld, mafia, crime in controlling the music industry of Punjab. Much more on this big story in the days ahead. For the moment, Tanseem, many thanks for joining me. Now, amidst these spate of targeted killings in the Kashmir Valley, the administration in Jammu and Kashmir has finally decided to transfer all Hindu government employees to district headquarters. Police officials have been tasked to ensure that no Hindu employee, no minority employee should work or live in isolated areas in the Kashmir Valley. This move comes after Hindu government employees threatened mass resignation, more than 350 of them, and gave an ultimatum to the Lieutenant Governor, saying in case they are not shifted south of Banihal to either Ramban or Jammu or Nagrota, they will resign en masse. India Today's Sunilji Bhatt and Ashrafani with our top story. May 31, 2022, Hindu woman teacher Rajni Bala shot dead by terrorists in Kashmir. May 17th, 2022, 52-year-old liquor shop owner Ranjit Singh killed in a grenade attack. May 12th, 2022, Kashmiri Hindu Rahul Bhatt killed in cold blood at his government office. A reign of terror has been unleashed on Hindus, particularly Kashmiri Pandits. As fear grows in the valley, the government has finally taken a major decision. By the 6th of June, all Hindu government employees will be shifted to offices in district headquarters in the Kashmir Valley. They will be provided with security accommodation so that their safety may be ensured. Top administration and police officers have been tasked to ensure no Hindu employees should work or reside in isolated areas. An option has been given to government staff to move to Jammu if they still feel insecure. The extraordinary step has been taken by the administration after Kashmiri Pandits staged a series of protests in Jammu and in Kashmir, demanding better security and relocation to safer areas.
The local people are staging protests against the J&K administration. Yesterday, a Hindu teacher, Rajni Bala, was assassinated by the terrorists in South Kashmir's Kulgam district. People of this area, as well as the relatives of Rajni Bala, are staging protests. They have blocked Jammu-Pathankot highway. The angry protesters are demanding that all Hindu government employees who are serving in the valley should be transferred to Jammu, as they are not safe in the Kashmir valley.
Opposition parties have also slammed the government for not doing enough to protect minorities in Kashmir.
16 कश्मीरी पंडितों को इसी साल चुन चुन के मारा गया। कश्मीर का आम आदमी यही चाहता है कि कश्मीर में रहने वाले हिंदू और मुसलमान सभी एक साथ रहें, सुख से रहें।
अफसोस तो इस बात का भी है जो कश्मीर बेस्ड पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज हैं वो लगातार ये घटनाओं का कंडेम न करके सरकार को कोसती हैं, सुरक्षा बलों को कोसती हैं। सुरक्षा बल बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं।
The move by the J&K administration comes as security forces have intensified their operations to hunt down Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terrorists. This year alone, 145 terrorists have been neutralized so far. With Sunilji Bhatt in Jammu and Ashraf Wani in Srinagar, Bureau Report, India Today. The only solution is relocation. These are some of the chants that you hear from Hindus in Kashmir. Unsafe in a place described as paradise. Clearly, not with these targeted killings of Hindus or Muslims that radical Islamists consider hostile. The opposition has questioned the failure of the muscular policy on Kashmir post-Article 370 with the spike in targeted killings. Does the government have answers? Joining me on India First is Yana Mir. She's a Kashmiri activist and ITV Real Kashmir News journalist. Ifra Jan is the spokesperson of the National Conference. RP Singh is the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And Sardar RP Singh, my first question is to you. The opposition is questioning the government. What happened after Article 370? Terrorists continue to carry out targeted killings with impunity, sir.
Gaurav, thank you for inviting for the debate. First, let's understand, the terrorists have changed their style of functioning. There's a hybrid style of functioning. Now, they are not terrorists like routine terrorists. They are people who are within these communities. They come out, they kill people, and they go back and merge with the communities. It's not that they are hiding somewhere or they're something like that. The new sort of terrorism, and then government is working on how to deal with this new sort of terrorism. One. Secondly, I know and I understand that there's a consistent killing of the Hindus or the Muslims who are supporting the government. But yes, there are killing of the terrorists also in Valley. Thirdly, sir, for the first time after 370-35A, no one is raising the flags of ISI No one is saying Nizam-e-Mustafa. No one is pelting stones. Whereas, yes, the
So you are saying terrorists are killing, so are we. They are doing, so are we. So are terrorists in this muscular government as powerful as the government and our armed forces? You must think about this. Yana Mir, should this decision to keep minorities in district headquarters, should this have been taken earlier? Because this has been a long-standing demand. Had the government actually woken up to this when these demands were made, probably Rajni Bala, Rahul Bhatt and so many others may have been alive.
You know, that is the problem here. The problem is not that the current government has bad intentions for Kashmir. The problem is very clear that they are very slow in implementing their promises. Okay, you get the pundits here, great, you kept that promise. But you're sending them to places like Chadura, for God's sake, where even a Muslim is not safe. They come to local shopkeepers and they say, the administration, and they say, you have to have CCTVs outside your shop. And the local shopkeepers are paying from their pocket to have CCTVs outside the shop. But how come there are no CCTVs in government offices? Secondly, the intelligence failure is drastic. They say that we are killing people, we are killing terrorists, like you said, armed muscle government. But even a 10-year-old, Amreen Bhatt's nephew, you must have heard of the Amreen Bhatt, the TV artist who got shot. Her nephew, a 10-year-old kid, is saying, I don't know who you killed. Nothing is made transparent. If you just go on a killing spree, you kill people who you think have done the act, then you're just going to have, if there's going to be no insaf, and for God's sake, if there's going to be no insaf, quick insaf, we are just going to have more terrorists coming out. For example, I'll tell you.
Constable Saifullah, you know, the way he was killed, and Safa, his little daughter, was injured. Sir, targeted killings, you should have intelligence enough. RP is saying your government, 30 years of tackling Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, you should know that place like the back of your hand. But Ifra Jan, yes, the government is to blame. But what kind of society are we seeing in Kashmir Valley? Ma'am, is there no place for Hindus in Kashmir?
You see, Gaurav, you yourself mentioned that it's not just the Hindus, it's also the Muslims who are getting killed. So both communities at this point face a security situation where anybody can be murdered. So let's understand that point. A Kashmiri Muslim is as scared as a Kashmiri Hindu at this point. But coming to the fact that it took actually 16 cold-blooded murders for the BJP government to wake up to what the National Conference has been saying from day one. We've been shouting out our lungs out on every TV that nothing has changed post-abrogation of Article 370, and the security situation has actually gone back.
For radicalizing people more.
Yana, can I please let me respond, and then you can come in. So, you know, we have been saying, National Conference has right from day one been saying that after the abrogation of Article 370, the terrorist situation in Kashmir has actually gone from bad to worse. But it was the BJP government that would come as nahi stone pelting kam ho gayi, wo kam ho gaya, without realizing the shift that the militancy has taken. And the third most important point, somebody said that, Yana said that it was the BJP government that fulfilled the promise of getting these Kashmiri Pandits back. Absolutely not. Most of these Kashmiri Pandits had actually returned after 2010 during the tenure of Umar Abdullah Sahab.
And where were they posted during Umar Abdullah's tenure? Where were they posted?
They were not getting.
Where were they posted during Umar Abdullah's tenure? Were they posted even in Chadura that time? Did they have a demand even that time? Only keep us in district headquarters?
No, they did not. Let me respond. No, they were not demanding. They were not coming out
really?
and protesting.
I will show you applications that came in. I will show you applications that came in 2010-11.
There were no such deaths happening. There were no such protests happening. If such protests were happening, why did your channel not cover them? Right now, it was we who got them back.
The nation has hurt you.
We have never said
terrorism during the reign of the Abdullahs.
Why were they posted in small areas?
There were no. No, I mean, we posted them in areas where, I mean, there was no such killing spree of Kashmiri Pandits post-2010. This happened post-2019 under the BJP government's watch. During our time, there were thousands of applications.
You guys used to say, don't abrogate Article 370.
You guys warned.
Let me bring in RP Singh.
And we did not listen to the warnings. The warnings were not listened to. So that's why you guys unleashed this on Kashmir. Now that it's been announced that November mein elections hone wale hain, so your government is going all out to ensure that BJP doesn't get any votes by unleashing terror, just like it happened in 1989. And your government disappeared for 2 days.
National conference
and now it's happening again.
That is unleashing terror.
Because
like,
you
what
are
are you saying? Are you saying that?
Hold on.
What exactly are you saying? Are you saying that it's national
Let's step back for a
killing
moment.
them?
Let's step back a moment.
Let's
step back for a moment. RP Singh, that's a very serious charge. Muscular government, post-abrogation of Article 370, you still have these targeted killings. It's back to the 1990s, says Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. He's saying several Hindus and Muslims opposed to this Pakistan-backed radical Islamist terror. They are being targeted. They are being killed. Sir, what is your government doing? What have you done post-2019, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav. I would have appreciated had Mr. Kejriwal also said a word against Pakistan, had it said a word against terrorism. They won't, because they seek vote bank because of by not uttering a word against Pakistan or not uttering a word against terrorism also, the terrorists also. They will always condemn the government. But let's understand, Gaurav, on ground situation is not as it was in 1990s or till before the 370-75 came in. The on ground situation has changed. I said there's new sort of hybrid sort of terrorism which is happening, which is being tackled. At 27 terrorists were killed last month, and then more will be taken care. But again, today it is the Kashmiri Pandits who are on road, not those stone pelters. The Kashmiri Pandits can protest. This is how I see the other side of the democracy, where people have right to protest. Yet no one has a right to protest also. But that point aside, I understand and I appreciate, and rather
sir, that's cold comfort to the family of Rajni Bala and Rahul Bhatt that their families can protest, and earlier they couldn't. But Yana Mir, has anything changed post Article 370, post August 2019?
I'll tell you something. Unfortunately, I'd like to reply to Ifra if you give me a chance, and if Ifra gives me a chance. My friend Ifra here is defending a government that ran away before the exodus because they knew something was happening. They ran away when they were floods. They ran away. Let me finish, Ifra. Ifra, let me finish.
Okay, if Ifra, let Yana finish her point.
Let
Yana finish her point. Ifra, I'll come to you.
She thinks she has a birthright to butt in when others talk. So the government that ran away when there were floods in Srinagar, the government which would have she spoke. The government which would have 100% run away when there was COVID here. Okay, but you can keep defending them. But the fact of the matter is, your government says Bharat Mata ki Jai in Delhi, and then comes back to Kashmir and radicalizes people by saying, oh, our rights have been stolen, our jobs are being stolen, our land is being stolen. And that is why some Jahil people from the rural areas come and target non-local laborers. They target Hindu people who are working here, and they think that their jobs are being stolen. Who has put the fear of demographic change in the minds of the radicals? Can you tell me who has put that demographic change? It is your government, Ifra.
Let me respond to you.
Why is your government not allowing Kashmiris to merge with Indians and think of Indians or Kashmiri Pandits as their own? Which government is not allowing that to happen on ground? Tell me, Ifra.
Yana, let me respond to you. I've heard you patiently. Please give me a minute to respond. Number one, in 1989, our government did not run away. We resigned because we said that if Jagmohan Malhotra is made the governor,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, please let me speak.
One by one.
This is
you forgot Ganderbal, your constituency, you forgot your house in Sora. You forgot the halat of the Pandits.
One by one. Okay, Yana Mir, please let Ifra Jan finish, ma'am. One by one.
How am I supposed to respond like this, I cannot really respond with somebody constantly saying you ran away.
Yes.
I can't really be responding like this,
Okay, ma'am, you made your point. Okay, Yana Mir, you made your point. Ifra Jan, please respond, ma'am.
Thank you. Number one, in 1989, we had clearly said if Jagmohan Malhotra is made the governor of Jammu and Kashmir, a person who is responsible for mass demolitions during Indira Gandhi's tenure, we will not work.
So you will abdicate your responsibility and let Kashmiri Hindus die. But ma'am, let's talk about what's happening today. Let's talk about what's happening today.
Today also said thing. We told you if you abrogate
only Ifra Jan, please. Only Ifra Jan, please.
You turned
Okay, okay. Only Ifra Jan, please. Only Ifra Jan. Respond. Ifra Jan, please respond.
19. Okay, please give me a minute. If I'm interrupted again, I'm going to go. I have a bad headache and I have my work to do. Number one, in 1989, Farooq Abdullah Sahab had very clearly put this in front of the central government that if Mr. Jagmohan Malhotra is made the governor, we will not work as chief ministers with the person because the person has a record of mass destruction and this person will be responsible for destruction which we will not put on our hands. The central government at that point, like it has a habit of bulldozing its views on others.
Ma'am, you are still not coming to the topic and you know, you're digressing. Is that why you are deliberately digressing from the topic again and again and again? But I have the last 30 seconds on RP Singh. From August 2019 to June 2022, it's close to 3 years. Where is normalcy? Because Omar Abdullah very clearly said tourism is not a barometer for normalcy in Kashmir.
Gaurav, this woman has been speaking lies after lies.
The lady, go on, sir.
Oh, what has your government done? Your BJP government is a big failure. Failure for government that you guys are. 8 years in Jammu and Kashmir and this is what you come to. A mass exodus of Kashmiri Pandits.
Only RP Singh.
Your government has been failure. Please, you should resign from the Prime Ministership. You do not deserve to hold the government. A government that cannot protect minorities deserves to resign. You have no right to govern this country.
You know, that's the tragedy of Kashmiri Pandits and Kashmiri Hindus, sadly. That's the tragedy, sadly. You know, you resign, but who will take the responsibility to save lives and bring a better Kashmir in the days, weeks, months and years ahead? Because a leadership is required that will stay put, fight for a better India. For joining me on India First, many thanks.